Hello and welcome to the couch. This is episode 6. Um, and you know, I just want to talk about some NFL today. We got a couple big storylines. More with the Jets. Last week they obviously fired Robert Saleh. Now they make a trade for Devontae. Amari Cooper's also on the move. We also got an embarrassing Cowboys loss to talk about, so that'll be a lot of fun. Then we got Week 7 predictions. You know, honestly, I thought there was going to be a lot more happening this week. Getting kind of close to the trade deadline. Thought there was going to be some more things to talk about, but only two major trades and moves, I guess. Um, but I feel like last week was kind of boring. Not like boring in a bad way, because there were some good matchups, but after the games, there wasn't much to talk about. But we'll get into it today. So go ahead and crack open whatever you got in front of you, and let's just get into it. Okay. But first, I do want to talk about the Devonte Adams trade because honestly, a lot of people were saying like, "Oh, Devonte is definitely going to be a Jet. He's going to go play with Aaron Rodgers." I just didn't. I don't know why I didn't. I didn't really believe all of that. It was definitely a possibility, but I really thought he would go somewhere else. It's just kind of funny to me. He's like, Aaron Rodgers leaves, and then he doesn't want to play with Jordan Love, so he goes and plays with Derek Carr. That doesn't work out, and then he ends up going right back to Aaron Rodgers on the Jets. And I like the fit, honestly. I think for a team who's been struggling offensively all year, pretty much, I think this is a great trade. I think one of the things that Aaron Rodgers lacked on the Jets was the chemistry with his wide receivers. And I think he's going to get that back with Devontae. And I think it's going to help his chemistry with Garrett Wilson, with Mike Williams, Alan Lazard. I mean, he already knows him. He's probably the one he has the most chemistry on. But I think it's just going to help him distribute the ball better and have more trust in his guys. So I don't see any problems with the trade. I like the third rounder, conditional third round pick. Might move up to a second. And I like the conditions that it's on. If the Jets, what is it? If he's an all pro, if they make it to the AFC Championship game, it's like those stakes are so high. Like that is it, not stakes, but that is such a high price for that. To me, it's a good trade. Because if you end up making it there, yeah, you'll give up a second rounder. Okay, they are just very clearly in the win now mode. But that's what baffles me about the Robert Saleh firing. If you're in a win now mode, why are you gonna fire the coach? That just seems to cause so much turmoil and flip in a locker room that I don't think that is going to sustain success. They did have a good game against the Bills, and the offense looked better. But I don't think that's because Robert Saleh is gone. I think that's because they changed play callers. It just seems like, honestly, I have no idea what the Jets are doing. Because if Robert Saleh is still there, they make the Devontae trade, they become a legit contender. But I'm not scared of them right now. With an interim head coach, I don't see them going far in the playoffs. I don't think interim head coaches have good records in the playoffs. They don't. So I think that this is a good move, and they're going to be better in the regular season, but I don't see them going anywhere in the playoffs. And if they do, then, you know, they win this trade entirely. They give up if they make it far enough, they give up a second rounder instead of a third. And that's what they wanted. They wanted to win this year. But I feel like they wanted to do two separate things. Like they wanted to kind of flip the culture and win now. And I just feel like those are two things that aren't possible at the same time. Yeah. But a trade I like even more is Amari Cooper to the Bills. A Bills offense that has still been really good this year. is now getting a prime number one receiver and Amari Cooper, and all they gave up was a third and a seventh, and they got a sixth in return, as well as Amari Cooper. That's amazing. Whoever their GM is a genius. I don't know how he got that one to go through. The Browns will do this. They'll do this trade, but they won't. But they'll sign Deshaun Watson to a $1 billion contract. Like, who in the world is in that Browns front office that let that happen? It is wild to me. But I think the Browns are really entering give up mode. And I think, like, why are you going to let Deshaun Watson go out there? I mean, the only positive side, if it, like, from the Browns doing this and Deshaun Watson, is that maybe his trade value goes up. Like, he starts to play good. Literally don't think that's possible. So, but I love this trade for the Bills. I think for the Browns, it's stupid. Like, I feel like they could have gotten more or not given up as much. I think just Cooper and whatever you get for that should be good enough. But I love this trade for the Bills. I think Josh Allen now has a really good wide receiver one, and it's going to spread because he likes Khalil Shakir, and that they have good chemistry. But he's not really the alpha number one type receiver, and I think Amari Cooper is that. And this is just going to help them expand the run game because Amari Cooper is not somebody like Stephon Diggs who's going to get mad when he's not getting the ball. I think he's going to play his role and do his role, and I think that's what they need in Buffalo. But you know, I really did not expect that. I was driving back to University of Evansville from my fall break trip, and I saw that, and I got a notification on my phone in the car, and I was like, "Whoa, that's wild!" Like, to me, it's just like I guess maybe everyone was talking about the Devontae Adams situation so much that it was just flying under the radar and just happened. It's crazy. All right. Um, you know, sorry. Now I want to talk about the Cowboys and Jerry Jones. I mean, what a game. What a game. Like, I tuned in and I just had a smile on my face. And that's just because I'm an Eagles fan, but also just God, Cowboys suck. And it's so nice to see that. Just so nice. I'm sorry to Cowboys fans, but this is enjoyable to watch. Just a little bit. Just a little bit. And it's on Jerry Jones's 82nd birthday too. He goes and watches his team get mollywopped. They lose 47-9. Don't even like I'm pretty sure they didn't score a touchdown. They didn't score a touchdown. Like, this is a complete collapse of the Dallas Cowboys. Going into the season, you're like, okay, they lost Leighton Vander Esch. Their offensive line has gotten worse. You know, maybe there's some regression, but the Cowboys always seem to be in it somehow. And this year, it's just not. They were getting blown out by the Ravens for the majority of that Week 2 game. And they really weren't competitive for 90% of the game, and then they came back. But they definitely weren't competitive against this Lions team. And I don't think I just want to look at their record. Because I don't think they've won against anyone that's, like they don't have a win against a good team. They barely beat the Giants, barely beat the Steelers, got mollywopped by the Saints, and beat the Browns. And it's so unexpected because every year they are in it somehow. Somehow they have just such a good team and they're winning it. And it just boils down, they have no run game and they have no run defense. They cannot stop the run. and they cannot run the ball. And so that means the ball is in Dak's hands almost all time. And Dak is not perfect. He's going to throw interceptions. He threw 3 red zone interceptions in that game. And that's not a recipe for winning. They didn't have the run game last year either, but at least they had the run defense. But now they don't have either, and it's just their biggest weakness. The run game as a whole is what kills the Dallas Cowboys. And again, against that game against the Steelers, they shouldn't have won that game. Dak threw it away every chance he could, and the Steelers just somehow couldn't convert it. So I'm not impressed with the Dallas Cowboys, and I think this is a very telling sign of, the ownership and the GM being a real problem. Because if they don't sign anybody in free agency for like the first 3 days, they lose Tony Pollard, someone who didn't really produce for them that well, but, they don't even take a chance on trying to get him back. They're like, our team's good. We'll go again. And did not recognize any of the glaring flaws to their roster. And honestly, I kind of feel bad for Jerry Jones. But then I don't at the same time because he goes on a radio show and threatens to get somebody fired. He's some. And all of this comes on the heels of CD's huge extension. So now now they give him this huge extension. They definitely don't have money to upgrade and fix all the problems. So they're going to have to do it through the draft. And that realizing that your team is not going to win it in the middle of the season and that there's you might be competitive for some games but not go anywhere is one of the saddest things as a fan you can ever watch. Like, it's just, you just know that you're just watching it and it means nothing. And I feel like that's the Cowboys season this year. It's going to be so rough. But that's just them boys. That's just them boys. I don't know. I would be and now for Dak, does he get another extension? Oh wait, no, he did get that. He got that huge extension. So they have Dak and CD locked up for a long time with no one else on their roster. No other standouts. This is going to be a rough, rough year for Cowboys fans, and I'm surprised that the Commanders and Giants are more of a threat to this NFC East division, to the Eagles, than the Cowboys. I really thought that the Cowboys were going to be pretty similar, but they don't sign anyone in free agency. And you're like, okay, well, they didn't get better, but surely they don't get worse. They got worse. It was, I don't know. I just didn't I did not expect this really, but it makes sense. They don't do anything, and you lose players. It's not going to be good. I also think Mike McCarthy, his decision making and overall coaching talent are gone. I think he needs to hang it up. I think there needs to be a major shift in that Cowboys locker room. I think, this is the time for me. Maybe not now, but in a couple weeks, if this trend continues, that's when you fire a coach. You say, hey, look, we're going to go a different direction. And then you can start to build a different, climate, culture in the locker room before the next season. And it's not like there aren't good coaches out there. I don't think Bill Belichick would go there, but he's out there. Mike Vrabel's out there. Robert Saleh now is out there. And I feel like all those guys are, I think Mike Vrabel and Robert Saleh are pretty good fits for that, honestly. When I think of the Cowboys, I think of the run game and the defense. No offense, Tony Romo, but I don't think about the passing attack. I think about Emmitt Smith and Ezekiel Elliott and DeMarco Murray. So I think that, the first step is obviously bolstering the defense and then fixing the run game. But I think there just needs to be a major culture shift in this Cowboys team. But I'm hoping it never happens. Crossing my fingers. Cross my fingers. Today's episode's probably gonna be pretty short. But I do want to talk. I'll talk about one more thing, and then we'll go into Week 7 predictions. Today's Friday, so I didn't get a chance to do the Saints Broncos officially, so we won't count it. But I want to talk about the rookie quarterbacks, man. I'm kind of impressed with all of them. Drake May had a great outing, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. I think he had a fumble as well. But wait, kind of just threw him into the fire in that game, the Patriots against the Texans. Threw him against the fire. The game wasn't close, but he performed decently well in that second half, and I think that's a really great sign. Obviously, if you Patriots don't think they're going to win it this season, but I think that you're looking at this guy and he's watched Jacoby Brissett, been able to develop just a little bit. You go out there, give him a challenge, and he does decently well. And I think that's all you can ask for. And the big playability is still there. So I like it, and I think this week is gonna be another good matchup against the Jaguars in London. Another little test. So we'll see. I like that, but even like Spencer Rattler, he looked good in that Bucs game. Now last night, not so much. But I mean, he looked to have some ability in that game. Like he did pretty solid throughout that, and he was able to put up a good amount of points against the Bucs, without really any, standout players besides Kamara. But last week it was a very rough showing, against that Broncos defense. But you know, I don't know. I mean, for 150th overall pick, that's what you can expect. Moving on to some more rookie quarterbacks though. Probably the main three are the three that have gotten the most playing time. Bo Nix, again, last night he looked really good. I think most of the game relied on Javonte Williams because the Saints cannot defend the run the past couple weeks. But I mean, Bo Nix is playing solid. They put up 33 points. And then the week before that, pretty sure. They beat the Jets, they beat the Raiders, barely lose to the Chargers. I mean, he's leading this team to a pretty solid record, and he's kept them in some competitive games. The Seahawks, he kept them competitive. The Buccaneers, he kept them competitive. I mean, he's not playing the worst. I think that was one of the major shocks of the draft when he went so early. But I mean, he's playing solid. I think a large part of it is the defense, but he's not making so many mistakes that he is costing them, or completely taking them out of games. And then there were two. We'll talk about Jaden Daniels because I think his is a lot simpler. He's just playing out of his mind. And I saw a really unique take on this on TikTok, but I don't remember who it was. But he was saying that like Jaden Daniels is a pocket passer. Like he tries to stay in the pocket and to, go through his reads and it doesn't just bail on his legs. And I think that's one of the most um unique things about him because a lot of dual threat quarterbacks that you see are very, like click and they're on their legs. They're not. They kind of bail out a little too early. I think you saw that with Justin Fields. Um, and I think now he is actually staying in the pocket, going through his reads and using his legs to extend plays, not make and make them, but not to just make a play. He is extending plays, and he's doing good at it. And I mean, he's just playing really well. I love this system for him in Washington, and I think he's playing well. And right now, he's the rookie of the year favorite for me. Like he's just playing amazing. And there's obviously going to be flaws because he's a rookie. I mean, but he led them to a really close game with the Ravens. He kept them in that game, and I like him. I really do, and I hate it that I like him because I'm an Eagles fan, and I wish that I didn't like the Commanders quarterback. He's just so good, and he's on my fantasy team. So it's like I got two things pulling me. But he's really good. But Caleb Williams, I I he looks so good, and even when he was struggling early on in the season, you never were really worried. To me, like I think like there's always the thought like, oh, like he's not playing well. Like does he do this? But you never are really like scared. Like wow, he's a bust because he's just got better and better and better and better and better, and you can see him getting better too. Like in that Jags game, there was a video of him, and he goes from his first read, second read, third read, fourth read, fifth read, goes through five guys and makes the play. And I think that's one of the best things that you can see from rookie is just is actually his technique is so good. And that's why he went number 1. Because he's the most NFL ready quarterback. And that's what the Bears need. The Bears historically have not had a great developmental process for quarterbacks. And I think that's what they needed was a more complete prospect. They don't have to necessarily teach him every facet because he's already almost complete. He's like 90%. You just need the last little 10%. And I think he's gotten most of that in the last, you know, in the first couple games of the season. And he's really putting it together now. I mean, a great performance against the Jaguars. And I really like him. If he continues playing like this, he might overtake Jaden Daniels. But it kind of depends on Jaden Daniels, obviously. And they keep rolling. But I think they're going to have a great matchup next week. That's going to be really fun to watch. So, and the Falcons are playing amazing. I cannot wait to see some Michael Penix. I love Michael Penix. I don't think he should have gone that high, but he is such a good player. To me, I think he's so good. Maybe I just have something for left-handed quarterbacks, but he's awesome. And I can't wait to go see him in that Falcons offense at some point, whenever that is. But yeah, right now I do have Jaden Daniels at top. I don't think that you can take him away from the production, but then it's Caleb Williams is a close second. And then I got Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler, and then Michael Penix. Oh, Drake May. Drake May, sorry. I have Jaden Daniels, Caleb Williams, very close. Drake May, Bo Nix, Spencer Rattler. But yeah. All right, let's just go ahead and get on to our week 7 predictions. I did pretty solid last week. Let me pull it up. This is not my. There we go. Okay. So we got. Oh wow. So the only games I got wrong were Giants, Seahawks, Broncos, and that's it. That's it. There we go. Pretty solid outing. I'll have to do the math and add them all up, which actually I think I already did. Yeah. But let's go ahead and go on to this week. Saints Broncos. I kind of forgot to make the prediction. I will say, in my heart, I did think the Saints were gonna win, just because they put up a pretty good fight against the Bucks. And I thought at least it would be closer than what happened last night. But you really saw the flaws in that Saints run game defense, and Broncos took advantage of that. But now we'll go on to the London game, 8:30 tomorrow. We got Patriots versus Jaguars. Give me the Jaguars. I do like how Drake May looked against Houston, but I think that the Jaguars would have been in that game with the Bears a lot more if there weren't like 4 or 5 drop touchdowns, and I think that's not going to happen every week. While I'm not impressed with their wide receiver core outside of Brian Thomas, I don't think it's gonna happen every week. So give me the Jaguars in that game. I think just overall they have a better team and they might be able to pull that one out. Next we got Titans Bills at noon. Give me the Bills. I mean, come on. I think Amari Cooper is gonna have a pretty solid game. I just don't see the Titans putting up much of a fight against the Bills. Texans Packers. Give me Houston. I really like this Houston team because they're quietly good right now. Like you just know they're good. I've watched a decent amount of their games, and now Joe Mixon's back against a pretty lackluster Packers defense. I think that the Texans win this one. I think Joe Mixon has a big day. Next we got Eagles Giants. Give me the Eagles. I'm not gonna bet against them against the Giants. While their defense has looked pretty good at some points, they did just lose their left tackle, and the Eagles are also down left tackle. I just think offensively the Eagles match up better, personnel wise. And I think that this is gonna be one of the weeks that we need to see the Eagles kind of take another step, because this is how we've been playing last season. This is how we've been playing this season. We need to go up here to not make the playoffs, but be successful in the playoffs and beat good teams. This is where you should be with AJ Brown, Devontae Smith, Dallas Goedert, and Saquon Barkley. That's where you should be. We have been playing here. And Jordan Mailata, the left tackle, being out is a problem, and I think Fred Johnson will struggle. But they need to win this game. Saquon's going to need to have a good game, and they're going to have to get the run game going early. So that's going to be that key for that game. But I do think the Eagles pull this one out. The Eagles' defense has looked better. Cooper had a good week last week. I think we saw a lot more of the Fangio defense, and I think that's going to provide some struggles for this Giants team. Next, we got Lions-Vikings. Like I've said a lot of this year, I don't want to bet against the Lions. They have so many ways to attack you. But also, the Minnesota defense is pretty good, and Sam Darnold is playing pretty good. And they have Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison, and this is gonna be a lot of fun because the Lions defense has struggled at some points, but I really think that this Lions team is so deep that it's almost hard to beat them one-on-one at every position. It's like the basketball analogy when you go into the playoffs and you're looking at the starting five. It's like my five. If my five is better than your five, I'm winning. It's really that simple a lot of the time. And if you do that with the Lions, I think they win almost at every position. So give me the Lions in that one. Next we got Seahawks Falcons. Give me the Seahawks. Um, Tough losses. In back-to-back weeks. I think they do provide a little bit of trouble for this Falcons team. I think Geno is. I honestly have been kind of disappointed by Geno until I saw some stuff, watched some film about him, and the line play is terrible. It's better than last year, but it's still pretty bad. Forsyth is getting destroyed, but I think this Falcons pass rush is not that great, but outside of Matthew Judon. So if they're able to contain him, I think the Seahawks win this one out. But this should be another fun game. Next Bengals Browns. Give me the Bengals. I'm not talking about that anymore. The Browns stink. Deshaun Watson stinks. Now Nick Chubb is coming back, but they did just lose Amari Cooper. Obviously Jerry Jeudy's there, but give me the Bengals. Dolphins Colts. Tua's still out. The Dolphins always kind of scare me because of, they have Jalen Waddle and Devon Achane and Tyreek Hill. But at the same time, there isn't anything to complete that. It's like they have all the ingredients to make a cake, but no oven. They don't have an oven. They can't make it. So I really like Anthony Richardson in this game if he plays. I think this is a game where he can actually show off his arm again, and maybe he looks a little bit better. So give me the Colts in this one. Now we're moving on to the 3:00 games, specifically 3:05. We got Panthers Commanders. Give me the Commanders. They're gonna ball out. This Panthers defense is trash. And then we got Raiders Rams. Give me the Rams. This Raiders team has really been struggling, and now they lose Devontae. I don't see them winning. This is another close one because the Raiders defense is always they can always step up and match another offense, but I think Sean McVay is going to be able to craft this one out of the Raiders' hands. And I know the Rams have some injuries, but I think that they're still good enough to put up enough points and win this game. Then we got the 3:25 game. We got Chiefs 49ers, a Super Bowl rematch. This very well could be the Chiefs' first loss of the year, but I don't think it is. The Chiefs is so hard to bet against the Chiefs because they always find a way to win. Coming off a bye, I think the Chiefs are gonna put this one away. I think they're gonna start really clicking on offense, and I think the 49ers, it'll be very similar to the Super Bowl. 49ers just won't be able to keep up. Now moving on to the Sunday night game, we got Jets Steelers. Wow, this is going to be boring. I think that with Devontae there, and he is playing, I think Devontae, the offense is going to look better, but the Steelers defense is so good. And with Russell Wilson starting, that's going to be really interesting to watch. And maybe it won't be as boring. Did forget Russell Wilson was starting. So, I do like the Steelers in this one. I think they're kind of an underdog to beat this team. The Jets, who have struggled on offense all year, and their defense was good. Last week, flip-flopped, where they had a pretty decent offense and a not great defense. So it'll be interesting to see if that trend continues. But give me the Steelers. I think they have a pretty good upset watch right here. Then we got Monday night. The first Monday night game, we got Ravens-Bucks. Give me the Ravens. I'm not going to bet against Derrick Henry and Lamar. This Bucks defense proved troublesome for the Lions, but I think overall, matchup to matchup, the Ravens going to win. Then we got the last game on Monday night, 8:00, Chargers-Cardinals. Last week was Justin Herbert's first game over 200 passing yards. So they, maybe they're starting to put it together. But I like the Cardinals. They're always so dangerous. I don't know why. They just remind me they're like a little rat. Like they're so sneaky. They're sneaky good, almost. But I like the Cardinals. Give me the Cardinals in this one. But that's it. So we'll come back. We'll do the totals for next week. Once again, my co-host on a bye this week, but hopefully we'll get him back next week. And yeah, I'll see you guys later. Thank you for listening or watching. That's it. This podcast is produced by Student Media. Student Media is a student organization at the University of Evansville. Student Media produces the Crescent magazine, published online and in print 3 times a semester. Student Media produces several podcasts and utilizes design, photography, video, and sound for its experimental and academic learning in journalistic endeavors and engaging storytelling. Student Media elevates the voice of the student body and connects the campus and community to important information and points of view.